So it's been 2 weeks since the Exo Mech update has been released. Of course, I had my fun with it, I've released a few videos on it as well, and I kind of want to give my final impressions of the update in this video too. That's something that I was actually planning in quite some time, but I was kind of distracted by Final Fantasy VII, so I kind of want to do that. But the more important subject that I also want to discuss in this video is the future of No Man's Sky and what it has in store for this game in terms of updates, especially this year, because you might be surprised to find out that this isn't the end of the road for No Man's Sky when it comes to updates, either big or small, because Hello Games has some really nice plans going on over there. So let's jump right into it, and as always, a thumbs up on this video would be super awesome. Anyway, you have to realize that what's currently happening to No Man's Sky in terms of its update cycle is pretty much unprecedented. Never has it happened in the past for Hello Games to bring updates for this game on such a regular basis. I think the only time that happened was in the end of 2016 and beginning of 2017, when we got Foundation and Pathfinder, soon followed by well, Atlas Rises, but that was pretty much it, and even those were like 4 to 5 months in between each other, so quite a long time. In this case, we already had Living Ship and the Exo Mech in just a matter of like 4 months. So every 2 months we got a smaller size update over there to keep us rolling for a little bit longer. And honestly, I think that this is something that I enjoy more of from Hello Games. I think that this is one of the main reasons why the game is currently played way more than the previous year, for example, or even more so before 2018. And the reason why people spend more hours in the game, it's because of these smaller content updates that kinda drag out a little bit of that excitement up until something big comes around the corner. And from everything that I was able to gather, it seems that none of this is going to stop anytime soon. If anything, it's most likely going to accelerate, as even Hello Games put it themselves in their recent development update. There's so much more planned for 2020, both in terms of the smaller updates, in this case referencing the Exo Mech update, as well as bigger, longer term things, and we are not slowing down. So this is likely going to be the plan for the near future, at the very least for 2020. It remains to be seen what's going to happen after the next generation of consoles is going to drop, which by the way reminds me of something. Hello Games is still working on a game that they haven't announced. They've only talked about it being in development like a year ago, but we never got any details about it. So I'm still holding my fingers crossed that this is something prepared for the next generation. I'm really holding my fingers crossed for that No Man's Sky 2, like the sequel to No Man's Sky, even though we kinda already got it in the form of updates. But I really want to see something for the next generation alone, with like a development made with the next generation in mind. And I'm pretty sure that somebody who's worked so close to Sony might have something ready for that. I think that Sony might have a hand into all of this, and it could be something really awesome, or it could be a totally different game. Like we already saw them releasing or planning to release a game called The Last Campfire, which is kind of like a smaller indie project, you know, kind of closer to the roots of Hello Games, creating these smaller games, still successful nonetheless, but still quite enjoyable and with a kind of a charm that I can't really describe into words. Nonetheless, according to a previous statement that I had in April, this is going to be the plan for the future, so releasing regular feature updates every month or so, or well, in this case every 2 months, along with community missions and new content every week. And there's a good reason for why that's going to be the case. They've even mentioned it themselves. In the past, it has happened very often for them to finish developing a certain features, but having to wait for like 8 months or so to deliver it alongside with the rest of the features in a bigger content update. So that's going to be a plan that is going to change in the future, and well, apparently whenever one of these features are going to be ready, they are going to be released in one way or another. Meanwhile, more radical changes that normally require more time investment and more development are going to continue to happen in the background. So all of those ideas that we've discussed, like biome overhaul, more exploration elements, you know, ship customization and everything else in between that normally requires a lot of development, might just very well be in the works as we speak, or it might just be that Hello Games might be working on features that we haven't even thought about. Like they definitely took us by surprise with the Living Ship, with the Exo Mech and pretty much every other update up until now, though still retaining some of the feedback that they get from the fans. So for the near future, what this could mean is that we might get another smaller update in the next couple of months. So we might see one in June, for example, about the same size as the previous two that we just had, or they could have something bigger planned that might overhaul areas of the game, maybe a little bit later than that, maybe towards the end of the summer, maybe like an August for a big update wouldn't be that far-fetched, and maybe still give us something in the meantime. They definitely seem to have set themselves with a bunch of community missions and rewards along the way that are still going on for at least a couple more months. This pretty much brings us to the final subject that I wanted to talk about, which is of course my review of the Exo Mech update and a few of the things and concerns that I had, and some of these I have expressed in a tiny manner in the past as well. So first of all, I'm gonna say this: thematically speaking, I really enjoyed the Exocraft update. The Exo Mech looks really interesting. I also enjoy the fact that they finally buffed an area of the game that was severely lacking for a very long time. Exocrafts for quite a number of years at this point have been quite useless. They haven't been that useful for a very long time, and mainly the reason for that is because our character is simply too overpowered for the way he moves, especially once you get all of the upgrades for your jetpack and learn how to do that melee boost. So all in all, what they did so far seems like a good step in a good direction, but honestly, it's probably not gonna be enough for many players out there. I've seen the comments and not that many people feel the same, and I can see the reason for why that's the case. If you take one of the exocrafts in the game and put it up against your character, it's not gonna be anywhere near close to how useful your regular movement is, and it's not gonna cost nearly as much resources. You don't have to invest anything in unlocking. Eventually you're gonna reach that stage where your character is gonna be upgraded anyway, so you're not gonna bother with exocrafts anymore. So here's where I'm probably gonna get downvoted for stating this, but maybe, just maybe, our characters move through terrain and on planets too easily. That jetpack oftentimes makes you truly feel like Superman, especially when fully upgraded. And no matter what Hello Games does in terms of buffing these exocrafts, unless they're planning to make them OP as well, I don't think there's going to be a short-term solution for this. Not unless some serious rebalancing to the game is done, which might imply some nerfs to the jetpacks as well. And that seems even more unlikely when you're thinking about the fact that this feature has existed since day one. We've been using it pretty much the same since day one, so for 4 years, and the only ever attempt to nerf this happened in 2016, and it was met with quite a lot of hate. So I can see an issue like this being resolved in a timely manner, which, well, is going to mean that these exocrafts are going to be a little bit subpar compared to how they should be. Now, in terms of how the Exo Mech itself is behaving, I think that there are some pluses but also minuses over here that it carries with the way it functions. So first of all, if you fully upgrade it, I'm not gonna lie, the thrusters on this thing are simply insane. You can jump a lot with this, you can boost a lot with this. It's also very fun to do so since you can jump way higher than with your regular character. Also, the weaponry on this, especially the mining tool, is, well, the best in the game. This is way better than any multi-tool out there, way better even if you like fully upgraded, and it deals like almost, well, 3 times the damage of that. But here is where kind of like all the pluses end and where the drawbacks kind of start, and there's a couple of them that really irk me and they have bothered me since day one. The first one is of course the fact that the exocraft, the Exo Mech, can only move in circles. So if you want to go to a point that is slightly, you know, to 45 degrees of your character or your Exo Mech, you're not going to be able to reach it for some reason because, well, the Exo Mech prefers doing these circles around a fixed point. You simply cannot turn with it. That's what I'm trying to say. You cannot turn it, even though the frame kind of looks like that would be possible. The second one is also the fact that you cannot move backwards. So if you're pressing S on your keyboard, it's not gonna go back. If anything, it's still going to move forward, which makes no sense really. This looks like a machinery that would be easy to control even though its size and weight, and it should be capable at turning and going backwards. But another offense that I saw and frustration that I've seen being posted by many of you guys is the fact that Hell Games missed a really nice opportunity here to give the Minotaur a melee attack, like have it, you know, do melee damage with its huge arms, which brings me to the final point. Of course, another frustration that I kinda had. I really hoped that many of these installable upgrades would go on the arms themselves, maybe even like carry a huge shotgun in the hand, but it's not the case, and I kinda think I know why, and that's of course animations. Animations in this game, especially third person, sometimes aren't really that great when you're you know, thinking about bipedal creatures or well, in this case machinery. So I think I know why that's the case. It would probably be a little bit buggy, but hopefully in the future that's going to change. Nonetheless, this has been pretty much it. If I were to give a score to the Exo Mech update, which would definitely be biased, so take this with a grain of salt, I would probably give it a B+ or an A-, and the reason for that is mainly because of that movement that could have probably been a little bit better on the ground. Nonetheless, this is pretty much it. This is it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and peace.